You know, we're surrounded by stuff we see every single day. Our food, the music we listen to, the stories we tell. But have you ever stopped and wondered, where did it all actually come from? Well, today, we're prying open a cabinet of curiosities to dig up some of those fascinating hidden histories behind the totally ordinary.
And, you know, this quote, it just nails it, right? We are fundamentally curious creatures. We're just wired to want to know the why and the how of things. It's just part of being human. So for our little deep dive today, we're pulling everything from this one amazing source, the Book of Unusual Knowledge. Seriously, every single fact we're about to talk about comes straight from these pages, and they are just crammed with mind-blowing stuff.
Okay, first up, let's get into something we all know and love, food. But I'm willing to bet you've never heard the stories behind some of your go-to dishes.
No, really, think about it for a second. We say these names all the time without a second thought, but why is it called a sloppy Joe or Thousand Island dressing? The answers are honestly way more interesting than you'd think.
So get this. Deviled eggs have nothing to do with the devil. Deviled was just an old-timey way of saying something was spicy or zesty. And the sloppy Joe? Yeah, that was a real guy named Joe whose diner was, let's just say, a little messy. And thank goodness, grasshopper pie is named for its cool green color, not, something else. Pew.
But this one feels like actual magic, but it's pure science. Baked Alaska? How in the world do you bake ice cream without it melting into a puddle? Well, the secret, figured out way back in 1804, is that meringue, just fluffy, beaten egg whites, is a terrible conductor of heat. It's basically an edible insulator. It gets all toasty on the outside, but it completely protects the ice cream on the inside. It's a physics lesson you can eat.
All right, let's switch gears. We're moving from the kitchen to the concert hall, because it turns out the backstories of some of the world's biggest bands are just as wild.
Can you even imagine screaming, "Play another one," at a band called the Flower Pot Men? Or telling your friends you're a huge fan of a group called The Hype? Well, those were the original names for Deep Purple and U2. It just goes to show you how much is in a name. I mean, the Noble Five just doesn't quite have that same punch as Lynyrd Skynyrd, does it?
Okay, pop quiz. You know their stage names, but what about their real names? Let's see. Who is Reginald Kenneth Dwight? Give up? That's the one and only Sir Elton John. Okay, how about this one? Calvin Brodas. That's Snoop Dogg. It's kind of crazy how a new name can create a whole new, larger-than-life persona.
All right, so we've had some fun with food and music, but now we're going to take a turn into something a little darker. We're going to look at how real, brutal history can inspire our scariest legends. Let's talk about the true story behind Dracula.
Now, don't worry about trying to read everything on this page here. The big takeaway is this. The famous blood-sucking vampire from the books and movies? He was inspired by a real man, a 15th century Romanian prince named Vlad III. And honestly, his real life is way more horrifying than any monster story.
He wasn't known for having fangs or turning into a bat. Oh no, his nickname was much more direct and so much more brutal. History remembers him as Vlad the Impaler, and he earned that name in the absolute worst way possible.
See, Vlad used extreme cruelty as a weapon, as a form of psychological warfare. His favorite method of execution was impalement. And when an invading army was marching on his capital city, he created what was called a Forest of the Impaled, putting the bodies of about 20,000 victims on display just to horrify his enemies so much that they'd turn around and go home.
So yeah, this guy was a real historical figure, born into a time of incredible conflict. He fought tooth and nail to keep control of his kingdom, Wallachia. His famous cruelty was a tool he used to keep his people in line and to terrorize his enemies. And his story ends just as violently as he lived. He was killed in battle, and his head was sent to the Sultan as proof.
So from the surprising science of a dessert, to the secret names of rock stars, all the way to the grim, real-life story behind a monster, we've really covered some ground. And the wildest part is that everything we just talked about is just a tiny, tiny fraction of what's in this one book. I mean, we have barely even scratched the surface. For every single story we shared, there are literally hundreds more just waiting to be discovered. So that leaves one last question for you. Knowing that these incredible hidden stories are everywhere, in our food, in our music, in our history, what are you going to discover next? Everything we explored today came straight out of the Book of Unusual Knowledge. So if you're feeling curious and you're ready to dive in and find your own favorite hidden gems, you're in luck. The link to this book is in the video description.